Hey, I'm Tommy. Welcome to Mid-Rats Barbecue, and today we're going to be doing baby back ribs with Meat Church's Honey Hog barbecue rub. So a lot of people have told me about the Honey Hog, and I've never used it. I'm actually more of a traditionalist when it comes to ribs. I like to do salt, pepper, paprika, just very plain, not a lot of extra flavor. That really takes away from the meat itself and the experience of eating ribs. So today I'm going to do something outside the norm, and we're going to try this Honey Hog from Meat Church. I actually even have my Meat Church hat on, so you got to support other channels, right? So that's what I'm doing. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take the membrane off. So what I like to do when I get the membrane off is I'm actually going to try to slice a little bit of the membrane up on one side to kind of give myself a good grip. A lot of people use paper towels, different ways to get the membrane off. Whatever works for you to be able to get it off is the easiest, I find. Like what I'm going to say time and time again is there's no right or wrong way except for the end temperature. You've got to enjoy the journey. You've got to be able to do cooking the way you want to cook to be satisfied. If it tastes good and you've got the right temperature so nobody gets sick, then how could anything be wrong? So we're going to go ahead and take the membranes off, and then we're going to trim them up. I don't like to do a lot of trimming with ribs. One of the main things, I like to find the extra bones. There's always, the saw blades are going to come through and they're going to cut and nick some bones. So just get these little bone fragments out. I always find that's important. You don't want to bite in and get a little bone fragment when you're enjoying your ribs. So I'm going to get them out. Quite a few of them in this set of ribs. Just feel along the edge. You'll be able to feel them right away. And one right here. On the back side here. And that's looking pretty good right there. It's looking pretty good. On the bottom side here, there's really not a lot with some baby back ribs that take off, maybe a little bit of extra stuff. And the reason I'm going to take this off is it's actually not going to cook. It's not, it's a little bit of fat, but it's not going to render on the cook. All it's going to do is burn. I want to get this little flange here. There's actually a bone in it. Some people will say you want to be aerodynamic with your cuts. It's all a personal preference. Like, everybody's got their own personal preference. I tend to just make it look like I want to eat it. Like, what's it going to look like at the end? Is it going to look good? And I'm going to say this too. This is my first time cutting on my new Neanderthal cutting board. If you don't know Neanderthal Fire Company, check them out. They make amazing cutting boards. So this is the first time, so I'm a little nervous because I don't want to get a bunch of scar marks into my cutting board. Yeah, I'm enjoying this new cutting board that I got for my birthday. So a couple more cuts here. Get this little edge off. Some people will cut off the end bones. I like to leave them on. It's all a personal preference. I'm going to kind of round this a little bit. Doesn't need to be perfect. Just the way I like it. This isn't a competition cook. This is my backyard, right? It's not a competition. It's not a restaurant. I'm not doing this to make anybody else's day. I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this for my family. And as long as they're happy, as long as I'm happy, that's all that matters in the end. So this slab is looking pretty good. Get this little piece here it's just going to burn. It's not actually going to do anything. And that's going to just burn. So you want to kind of get that out of there. You don't want a lot of burnt edges on this. You want it to cook really nice and evenly. So looking at that actually looks pretty good. Check one more time on the bottom here. Yeah, I think we're good. So now that we've got them trimmed up, what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and season them. But to do that, I always like to use a mustard binder. Everybody's going to tell you all different kinds of ways to bind. I use mustard. You use what you like to do. Mustard works for me. You don't taste it. Some people say, well, you can taste the mustard after the cook. No, you can't. That's a bunch of bull. I like to use mustard. It works. Find what works for you. There's many different. I've heard people use mayonnaise, which is like really weird to me, but I don't know. Do what you like to do. So we're gonna do the binder on one side, make sure you get the edges, and then we're gonna add our seasoning. I always like to do one wet hand, one dry hand. That way I'm not kind of just getting all nasty. This hand is the only one that's gonna touch the ribs. This one I'm gonna use if I need to pick up something else, pick up the mustard, pick up the seasoning, whatever I need to do. But one wet hand, one dry hand. So let's go ahead, that's a little plumped up. Probably the humidity we've got in the air going on here. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna season this bad boy. Just like a typewriter, go back and forth, all the way down the slab. And then back a little bit, make sure we're nice and covered. And then we're gonna hit the edges. And I like to bounce it off the glove when I do the edges. It'll actually bounce right off your glove and back on and stick to the mustard. Get a little bit extra down here where we got this fat area here. That's just mostly gonna burn. It's not gonna render out. So we wanna go ahead and make sure we get that covered. Make a nice little bark on that area. Now I know some people say, well, ribs don't get bark. Well, you know what? My ribs do, so shut up. A little bit extra there. And it's gonna fall off when I flip them over anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. So looking good, looking good. All right, let's flip them over. And we're gonna go ahead and slather the backside. I'm not worried about presentation side. I'm not worried about any of that stuff because again, this is not a competition cook. This is a backyard cook for my family. And as long as it tastes good and none of them get sick, they're not gonna care what they look like, really. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get a little on the backside here, make sure we're completely covered. See, it's a little humidity, it's balling up there. That's all right. Nice and covered. Some people might say, oh, that's a little too much. You know what? It's never too much if it tastes good. It's never too much if it tastes good. So I'm gonna add a little bit more here. So we're gonna let these sit and we're gonna let it kind of soak in and sweat out just to kind of mix the flavors of the rub within the outside of the ribs so that we get a really good cook out of these. Right now I'm gonna go ahead and prep the other set and then we're gonna get them on the smoker. So they've been sitting for about a half an hour now, absorbing in the Meat Church honey hog rub that we put on there. They're ready to go on the grill. Today we're going to be smoking on the Z-Grill 7002B or 702B. I've heard it called either way. 7002B. It could be either way. I don't know. But so that's what we're cooking on. Earlier this morning, I actually did start a pork butt, so that's already on there. It is time to spritz it. This was used with just salt, pepper, and paprika, kind of like I normally do with pork. So we're gonna go ahead and spritz it. I use a apple cider vinegar water mix, is all I do. And so we're gonna just kind of knock down the edges, check it out. It's looking really good so far, I gotta admit. I do cook even on a pellet grill with a water pan just because I do feel that it adds moisture, which will help regulate the temperature and actually keep the meat from drying out. Some people are 100% against a water pan. I actually like a water pan. It's a personal preference thing. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. You cook the way you want to cook, right? So we're gonna hit this with a couple more. It's looking good. A little bit dried out right here. Maybe hit that corner right there. Looking good, actually, really looking good on that. So now that we've got that spritzed up, let's go ahead and get the ribs on. And then we're gonna compact them up too. So we're gonna go ahead and lay them down, get them on the smoker, and then we're gonna kind of accordion them together. Yeah, I'm using my clean hand, I know. I don't think that's gonna cause any problems just because I got a little bit of sauce on my hand. I want a little bit of room between them so that way airflow can come up between them. All right, so they're on. I've got them going at about 275, and that's what I'm gonna do for the entire cook. The way I kind of time this out is the pork butt and the ribs should all be done right around the same time. I'm figuring about 5:30 this evening, which will make it perfect because then I can actually transition everything down as it rests to my fiance's house. She lives about 45 minutes away from here, so that we can all eat tonight. So we're about 3 hours into the cook right now. I've been every hour or so spritzing them just to make sure the edges don't dry out too much. Make sure there's just enough moisture in there to kind of keep them cooking without burning them around the outsides. So right now it's time to wrap. We're gonna go ahead and wrap the ribs and then get them back on there so that we can finish the cook. Now I'm gonna use your standard heavy duty Reynolds wrap here to do my wrap. And what I like to do is I'm gonna go ahead and shiny side up. I'm gonna measure out about enough so that I can double the ribs, right? And so if I laid down the slab and then laid it down, it'd be double along the side, and then I'm gonna double that up as well. So right about there for the first, and then I'm gonna do that again, and that should be all right. A little bit shorter than I would have liked, but I think it'll do just fine. And the reason I want to do the shiny side up is I don't want the heat reflecting off as it continues to cook. I want the heat to absorb in, so the dull side will actually allow that to happen. So now that we got the foil ready, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up, and I'm gonna spritz them down a little bit, check them out, make sure that, you know, obviously they're looking good. It's been about an hour since I've seen them last. And then I'm gonna put them onto the foil, and we're gonna wrap them. Now, some people use tongs to take the ribs off, and as I'm looking at those, they're getting a little bit crusty here, a little bit burnt, so let's go ahead and spritz them a little bit. Bones are starting to peak, which is nice. Honestly, the cook's looking good. Get them back there, drying out a little bit. As you can see, the pork butt's ready to wrap too. The cap is split, so that's really nice looking right there. I'm liking the color of that. I'm liking the mahogany color of the ribs, and everything's really looking good. So what I like to do is I'm gonna take a towel, but then I'm also gonna use, and I'm gonna spritz my hands and get them a little bit wet, and then use the towel, fold it over, and just kind of grab them and lift them up out. They're pliable, but not too pliable yet. So we'll go ahead and we'll lay them down on there. The straight side, there's always kind of a straight side. I'm gonna put that towards me. And the reason being is it allows me to create an edge on the back side here to kind of tuck the foil under as I'm wrapping. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get them wrapped. I'm gonna spritz them one more time, and this is the last time we're gonna see them, and they're actually looking really nice. I actually like the way the honey hog is kind of giving it that mahogany color. I'm very impressed with the way it looks so far. So what we're gonna do is as we wrap, we're gonna go ahead and start over. Let's move this up a little bit. And actually, I think I reversed my foils the way I wanted them. Let's go ahead and do that. We can fix it. So we're gonna go ahead, and this is reversed. I messed this up, but that's okay. And so I'm gonna walk my fingers under and kind of create a cavity underneath as I'm tucking this down, and fold this up, and I can crease this out, right? And that'll hold. That'll help hold and kind of just create the edge, to kind of mirror the edge of your ribs right here. And then for this side, I'm just gonna kind of fold this in and create a wing. Just create a wing right there, right? And then I'm gonna fold this side in and create another wing. Nice. This will get rolled back down around, and so then to double up on this side, because we've got two layers here, I'm gonna kind of walk it back under again. And what you don't wanna do is let the bones peek out. If the bones peek out, if you push too hard, the bones peek out, well, then you're basically just letting all the juices that you want to build up and help continue to cook inside the ribs here, inside the packet, if you will, you're letting it just leak out. And that's this kind of anti-wrap. So let's make sure we don't let the bones peek out. Let's get this nice, and then we're gonna flip it over, flip it back, and then just kind of form compress everything together. Create a nice little tight packet. That's what you want, a nice little tight packet. Perfect packet there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this one back on. All right, so I put that one back on. I'm gonna go ahead and prep and wrap the second one, get those back on there, cook them for probably another 2 hours, just to kind of finish up what we need to do before we go into the resting process. As far as the resting process, my normal is I'm gonna let it sit out for about an hour just with a towel over top of it. I usually don't do a cooler. Usually don't do anything other than just put it on a table, let it sit, let it kind of seep in with the juices that are inside the packet, so that way it kind of just continues to cook itself. Today I've got to do something different because I am traveling. I'm going to put it in a cooler with the pork butt, and then we'll kind of open everything up down at our other location. Now it's time for the big reveal, and let's see how these things turned out. So we're going to go ahead and flip them over and kind of dump them into their own juice. They have been sitting for a while, so I'm guessing some of the juices is probably absorbed back into them a little bit. So let's see what we got here. Oh, they look nice and tender. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, they won't even flip over. So we'll go ahead, set that aside, flip them back over here. Really good color, really good texture. I kind of like them. Not really burnt. I got a little burnt in there. The bones obviously pulled back really nicely. So let's cut into them. Let's see how tender they are. So hit the bone there. I'm liking the smoke ring that I'm seeing here. Nice and tender. They smell good. They smell really good. So looks like we got a crossbone there. Looks like I missed the bone. Now we got a short little stubby bone. Straight bones are hard to find. All right, there we go. Moment of truth. Let's give it a shot. That's really good. That's really, really good. All right, so there you have it. Honey hog ribs turned out really well. Not very overpowering with the flavor, which is nice. Much different than my usual salt, pepper, and paprika, but I like it. I like what they are. So yeah, try it out. Honey hog from Meat Church. I'll put the link down below so that way you guys can find Meat Church if you don't know. If you don't know Meat Church and you're watching this video, what's wrong with you, first off? But yeah, I'll put that down in the below. All right, until next time, I'm Tommy with Midrats Barbecue, and the smoking lamp is always lit.